Would you like to be somebody who understands why nihilism is essentially a form of lying? Then listen to this entire video where I first explain how nihilism creates suffering and how it is connected to essentially lying or going against what is real or what is potentially true, let's say. So before we get into this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to learn more about self-development, dating, and how to reduce suffering in life. So I got myself this lavalier mic, so I'm stepping up my game, and I hope you enjoy the quality of this audio now. I hope it's a bit better, so let's get into it. So nihilism is the philosophy and belief that there is no meaning in anything and that nothing is better than anything else. It is simply all sort of flat and on the same sort of level of value, or there's no value really at all. And so hence there is no objective value in anything, there is no meaning in anything, and there is no purpose in anything. Now, this leads to the attitude or the perspective that humans are assumed to be purely matter, because nihilism, I believe, has sort of the tendency to just simply view everything as valueless, and that blocks the searching for meaning, the searching for value, and it just sort of dumbs down that which you see to everything in a sort of purely matter form. So all what you see is like physical, and that's it. There's nothing else there. And it also it assumes humans are only matter, and there is no added value to them. They're just sort of like there, and that's it. And it also denies humans as being valuable, spiritual, complex beings with some sort of value that lies beyond the observable and beyond the physical, beyond the touchable. So it just sort of like boxes humans in as these like bodies, and that's really it. And nihilism brings a lot of suffering for humans because of various reasons. So because nihilism states that there is no value in anything, value hierarchies are consequently abolished. And I mean, value hierarchies determine that which you aim for in life and that which you will obviously value in life. And because if you value education, you're going to go out and try and get an academic degree. If you value family, you'll like invest time in your family and make sure you maintain healthy relationships with your family. But if there's no value system, then there's nothing to strive for anymore, and you sort of dwell in nothingness, let's say. And because you have nothing, humans still have a desire to believe in something, which I'll get to in a bit. And that means you will easily fall for, if you're nihilistic, you'll easily fall for quick fixes or quick, simple, attractive belief systems that might actually be dangerous, like some ideologies. And if somebody comes along and gives you some meaning in your life, whatever it is, whether it's good or bad or whatever, you'll fall for it because you're just sort of dying to believe in something. So, and you'll also easily fall for short-term pleasures, because ethical behavior or noble behavior usually entails making sacrifices, which is obviously difficult and painful. However, short-term pleasures don't entail any sacrifices. They actually entail like immediate pleasure, and that's great. And because no behavior is better than the other, according to nihilism, like ethical behavior is not better than impulsive behavior, you'd obviously choose the one that is easiest and the one that is most fun, which is the short-term pleasure. So you'll just end up for that. And short-term pleasures actually hijack you achieving your long-term goals, because when you engage in short-term pleasures, well, for many reasons, you engage in a dopamine loop, which makes you feel great, and you get addicted to it, and you always want more and more of whatever makes you feel good. But growth really comes from delayed gratification and engaging in discomfort, which makes you absorb difficult situations and internalize them and learn. Whereas pleasure, you don't learn anything from it, you don't grow from it, you don't struggle from it, and you don't grow. And in order to achieve your long-term goals, you need to grow, you need to transform, let's say. And well, apart from that, I mean, there's also an obvious downside, which is you suffer from addictions. If you're addicted to pornography, drugs, alcohol, gambling, these are all short-term pleasures which can get you hooked very easily and actually hijack your well-being, and that's why you can easily suffer from them. So nihilism can easily lead to indulging in short-term pleasures. Nihilism also results in suffering because you don't have a purpose in life, and life is tough, brutal, and because of nihilism you don't have any reason to keep living. You have no value to keep living, no goal to keep living for, no people to keep living for, because nothing is valuable. And because now, I mean, life then looks like a negative sum game, because you have nothing to live for, but you're suffering. So it's actually like zero, nothing to live for, and then it's negative because you're suffering, which sucks. And you're like, why would I play this game? It's a negative sum game. And you suffer, but you don't get rewarded for any benefit or any kind of way, because you're not striving for anything, you don't see value in anything, you don't get rewarded in anything. And there's nothing in it for you, basically. And that's why you suffer. You have no purpose, but you're still faced with the tragedy of life. And the punchline of why I think nihilism leads to suffering is actually quite an unusual perspective, which I've never heard somebody talk about. And it's the following. I think nihilism gives rise to suffering because nihilism is not aligned with the nature of human being. It does not reflect the biology of humans, let's say. Hence, in some sense, it is a lie, because it does not reflect the truth about humans in terms of what their body constitutes and what their psyche constitutes. Let me explain. But let me first explain how lying creates suffering. So it's like this. So nihilism lies in terms of what your biology constitutes. And okay, so how would lying create suffering? Let me explain that first. There's many reasons why lying creates suffering. So when you lie, a hydra appears, and a hydra is a monster with multiple heads. And each time you chop off a head of a monster, multiple, I don't know how many it is, but multiple heads grow back. So each time you cut off a head, more and more problems grow. So when you lie, many unexpected consequences arise which you need to deal with, and it gives you problems that compound in size. Because you cut off one head, more grow, you have more problems, and more problems results in more suffering, because you have more issues in your life, whether it's health, relationships, friends, career. Yeah, and how would lying create unexpected consequences? Well, let's say you lie about, okay, let's say you lie to a friend at work. The friend, like you were gossiping about your friend with these other people, and then your friend hears about it and confronts you, and you lie, you say you don't do it. Well, then that person then goes back to the other people and tells them, and then they say, wait, hold on, why was he lying? And then they come to you, and then you have more problems, and then you lie to them, and then these people and your friend gang up then and say, wait, hold on, what's going on? And then you just, like, more and more problems arise. Unexpected consequences, unwanted consequences. Next reason why lying creates suffering. You corrupt your ability to interpret reality. You need to be very conscious of this. When you lie, it's very easy to forget that you lied about something. And to be honest, like, there was something I lied about recently which I'm very ashamed of, and I really shouldn't have done, I think. And I forgot, like, as time went along, I forgot that I lied about it. And I forgot that the topic that I lied about was a lie and not actually real. I thought it was real. I forgot that it was a lie. And you corrupt your ability to interpret what is true. And you sink deeper and deeper into this unclarity, and you basically make yourself become delusional. And when you're delusional, you can't fix problems because you don't see the root of the problem, and you squander in ineffective or they're not a solution, but ineffective seeming solutions which don't solve your problems, and your problems just continue to exist and make you suffer. Next reason why lies create suffering. When you lie, you might be breaking someone's trust and you betray them, especially if they show a gesture of trust to you. They might expect you to have a deep, meaningful, and protected relationship, and if you lie to them, you behave in a way that they didn't expect, and you betray their trust. And then first of all, you don't have a valuable relationship anymore because they will not want to spend time with you anymore, and you bear more unwanted consequences. Because, I mean, I've talked about this in a different video, but the book Inferno by Dante talks about these different levels of hell. And the further you go down in hell, you find the people who committed the worst crimes. And at the bottom, in the furthest down the layer, is where the people who betrayed others lie, including Satan. He betrayed God's trust. And there's something about this that always rings in my mind, that betrayal is almost the worst form of a crime, and you reap horrific consequences for it. So that would be a reason why you suffer, let's say. And obviously, if you get used to lying, you may adopt more bad behavior because you know you can get away with bad behavior. However, if you tell the truth more, you hold it as a value, obviously, telling the truth. And you actually take more precautions in your behavior because you want to make sure you don't behave in bad ways, because you'll need to speak about it afterwards and tell the truth. And you don't want to tell stories about your bad behavior, obviously. So you're more careful with your behavior. Make sure you behave more nobly and more ethically. And of course, if you lie more, it's easier for you to engage in destructive behavior. Now let's relate this to nihilism. When you're nihilistic, I expect you are lying about your spirit. Now, there is a part of humans that is not observable and cannot be touched. Maybe somebody would call it your intuition, God, your gut feeling, your conscience, or your soul. And nihilism does not acknowledge this internal spirit. It only sort of acknowledges humans as matter. Now, nihilism assumes that morality does not exist. It assumes that any kind of truth does not exist. And any kind of internal conscience or spirit, whatever you want to call it, does not exist. And the human conscience is a kind of a truth about humans. It's like, it somehow operates in a non-physical manner, and despite being unobservable, it seems to be present across all humans, and this can be concluded by the existence of religions across the entire globe. And religions are a reflection of something beyond the physical, like this sort of truth, people might call it God, but this sort of truth, this sort of high value. And this conscience seems to potentially be a universal truth because it is existent across all cultures. Like, it really does exist, and nihilism, however, denies its existence, hence it kind of lies. And if you deny its existence, you most probably do not attend yourself to your conscience, this non-physical part of you. You ignore any non-physical clues of the existence of your spirit, and because this spirit or soul exists, it has its own needs. And when a fundamental need of human is not attended to, the human suffers. And we obviously know this through basic needs like food, shelter, warmth, but humans have this non-physical aspect with its own fundamental needs, and when they're not engaged in, the human suffers. It's quite hard to explain, but the spirit is somehow connected to meaning, some sort of value, and it is really beyond the physical. And I haven't really formulated it fully yet because it is quite a far-fetched, complex topic, but I do feel like the spirit or the non-physical truth exists, like there's something there. And I can see people suffer who have not been delivered any soulful or spiritual teachings. Like, I suspect that they are missing it by the way that they talk. They sound cynical, nihilistic, like they're suffering, like they have an urge for some meaning in their lives, like something to believe in, but nihilism denies them that spiritual endeavor. It is lying to them. And where does like this nihilism even come from in the first place? I think humans' emphasis on valuing science above anything else is partially responsible for nihilism. Like humans originally prioritized science because humans place the value of truth at the top of their value hierarchy, which was actually, I believe, Christianity, which actually cannibalized itself, because Christianity developed to value the truth as the highest, but because Christianity offered so many dogmas that weren't based on any truth, it like killed itself. And science came to fruition then, because science was a substitute for religion, which, well, relative substitute, which aimed to measure what is true. And science aimed to systematically observe truths and seemed quite reliable. And science was able to measure matter easiest with its tools and measurements, but it is not able to really measure the non-physical. And just because science cannot measure something, it doesn't mean that something doesn't exist. Just because science cannot measure the human psyche or spirit doesn't mean they're not there. And that's why humans suffer, because science is sort of the overarching belief system nowadays, but it is not delivering a need which humans have, which is a spiritual, non-physical, psychological need. And that's why humans suffer to a degree nowadays. Yeah. So in conclusion, nihilism is a lie, or is lying, because it denies an essential requirement for human well-being, which is a non-physical, a value, a spiritual aspect. And nihilism denies any sort of value systems, any spirit or any meaning in anything, let's say. But there seems to be some sort of truth in the human psyche that is spiritual, soulful, meaningful. But nihilism denies it, and that's why humans suffer, because they are not being fed or not being acknowledged for the full bandwidth of their existence, which is the physical and non-physical. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to learn more about self-development, dating, and how to reduce suffering in life. I hope you enjoyed this mic quality. I hope it wasn't too loud. I need to double check that now, but yeah, thank you for listening.